Huh. See, this is why I tested sound before. So, just testing the sound.
Right now, KFC, pick any two. These favorites for only $6.
Give me a second, guys.
Tasty Bear, $6. 11.95 for these. I'm just mashing your taters. $6. Mix and match any two for only $6.
Waiting for the commercial to actually be over. I should be hearing sound any minute now. If y'all see, this is why I test the sound. All right, great. All right, so how you guys doing? As always, I'm getting the shilling out the way. This is actually me trying to shill for, of course, my Etsy page, which I brought the store back, and I pretty much am going to be working on doing more art content. You'll probably see it more on my YouTube page versus the Twitch stream. I don't know. I still got to figure out how I'm gonna do it. But as you can actually see, I have several different pieces. I want to give a shout out to. Uh, can I actually see it on here? No, I can't see it. But I'm gonna give a shout out to one of my a guy who actually helped me. And let's see if I actually favorites. Okay, cool. Yeah, I can't see his favorites. Favorite shops. Oh yes. So I want to give a shout out to Santiago's Vision. He's actually gave me some tips and advice on actually getting some of my art out, and you can actually see some of his art that he has up, and it actually looks really amazing. So that shilling done. Let's get to the videos. Now, here's the thing. This is why I wanted to come home and fuck. I, I'm I'm pissed. I'm fucking pissed. And the reason why I'm pissed specifically is because, well, I work supposedly 8 to 4:30. However, a lot of bullshit, let's be honest, bullshit is companies right now don't give a fuck about you. And with a lot of companies not giving a fuck about you, they care about the needs of the business versus this camera is just too close up on me. They care more about the needs of the business versus the needs of the fucking employees that they have. And so I am having to work so many fucking hours. Now I know you might be saying, Crimson, why does that matter? You have a job, you should be happy. Literally, people have fucking died for you to only have to work an 8-hour week. And quite frankly, we should be working a lot less. And so, fuck the corporate system. Fuck people that want their employees to work more than what they work. And in generally, I'm seriously like fuck capitalism. Because it makes no sense where we have only a few people making decisions for everybody else that don't do the fucking job. And since we're going to actually do that, since we're going to be covering that, let's cover a video which I saw that was kind of fun. So let's go. Sorry, guys. I want to get to that one too. And let's see if y'all can hear it. Yes. And ooh, I get to teach fucking capitalism using Conan Exiles. So, what I did, I went out and got all of this shit for my thralls. They're thralls. I don't give a fuck about what they like, and I may just barely feed them. and it looks like the coffers are gone. So I'm gonna have to go out and get food for them. Other than that, this is my shit. I invested the time to get everything that's right here. Now, yes, I may have to do some of the more dangerous work, but this is my shit. Actually, I don't have to go that far because all I have to do is go out here. And so I am the fucking boss. But, and they do some labor, but mostly I get the benefits of it. Because you see that they are in shitty ass clothes while I'm in fine linens. Let's go. Now, here's the thing. Now I'm joking about Conan Exiles because a lot of times I'm actually the one that's going to get the shit. But like the food and shit like that, you're not gonna have thralls going hunting for animals or shit like that, or bringing back other thralls. No, I'm mostly doing that shit. But it's just the fucking idea that most of us who have a 9 to 5 job, or 12 to 8 job, or a job where we're doing most of the work while the people that are in charge are either fucking masters, where they're just, their only job is to ensure that we're doing our job, or they're just blatantly just getting away getting away with fucking effectively stealing the value of people's labor, people's hard work. And yes, before you say I'm going on a Marx rampage, I do believe there are certain things that equate personal property. I'm not going to go that far. I believe that there are certain things that personal property does grant you. But your personal property ends at my fucking time. Your you can't dictate my time to me and how I want to fucking spend my time. That's not a part of your profits. And for you to think that, well, you need a job, then you're trying to dictate my time instead of fairly fairly negotiating what is equitable to everyone. But let's continue. All right, so one of the things that kind of annoys me, and it's because fucking Donald Trump does this bullshit. Um, it's huge, now huge, and I'm like, I get mad at Bernie Sanders when I hear him say that shit, but I know it's a New York thing, New York, and you know, no hate to my people in New York, but just say huge. It's okay to say huge. You don't need to sound like I don't know. It's just weird the way they say it. But just going back to a point that he said, do you know that a reason why so many people, so many CEOs are hired is because there's members of the boards of so many other people. That shit is like that shit is crazy. That there is no real value in someone else's work. It's just that they haven't proven to do anything. And you see like the president that got fired from EA from doing bullshit. How does he just turn around and get hired to another job and still continues to do the bullshit. That's fucking unbelievable that we see that shit. But let's continue. I want to know, can you guys hear? Hold on. All right, let me see if I can actually pull the volume up. Give me a second, guys. Hmm. Give me a second. All right, let's see. Let's do that.
Corporations will typically do that because the profit is more important to them than the social consequences that basically they don't have to live with and they don't have to pay for. And so you'll get decisions about how to use the profit, which is a social disaster in terms of the health, mental and physical of other people. Having a small group driven by profit gathering into their hands the discretionary funds shapes everything about the way we live.
So, one of the things that kind of always pisses me off about shit like this is that you see these groups and it's it's irritating that you have these people that are only thinking about fucking profits. And thanks for letting me know about the value. You have these people that's always thinking about profits, and they're never thinking about long-term profits. They're always thinking about the short-term profits. That's why you used to see these CEOs that used to stay with companies for 20, 30 years, and now you have so many of them. So many of these CEOs that sit back and fucking they work for the next they work for the next quarter instead of thinking about things that would actually increase the worth of the company past the next quarter. They're always thinking about the earnings call. They're always thinking about how they can get their bonus, their stock buybacks. And that's why the tax cuts from Trump were so mismanaged, so ill used, because what ended up happening was you get these companies, instead of increasing the value, increasing the pay of their employees, they did stock buybacks. Yes, the stock market goes up and up and up. However, you get it where you see all of these people getting rich off the stock market, but those of us who work the normal 9 to 5, of us who work, day in and day out for these greedy pricks, our wages has actually gone down due to the inflation. And it's sad. It's really fucking sad that we have to sit back and we have to actually fight for scraps and we're told to compete. But let's continue.
Class is one of the most repressed discourses in this country. Many Americans insist that we're all in the middle class, that if there are a handful of desperately poor people at one end and maybe a handful of desperately rich ones at the other, they're really a tiny footnote to a vast middle. This is a way of pretending that class differences, wealth, power, corporate structure, somehow aren't there or don't matter.
So one of the things that kind of like quickly we're all bifurcating to effectively either the upper class or the lower class. When we actually see these things coming up, how many people can truly now say that they are in the upper class? And yes, I am no, I won't say that we sit back and I'm not saying everybody is poor. That's the furthest from what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the prices for you can artificially feel that you can actually tread water even though you're artificially getting your wages raised because the cost of everything is going up. And the fact that we sit back and one of the things that I love and hate about humans, and unfortunately I am one, is that we have such short-sightedness when it comes to things that happen with us. We sit back and we don't remember 5 years ago. We don't remember 10 years ago, and we romanticize about it. One of the one of the things that has been proven with science is that not only do we sit back and romanticize about it, but when we go back and think about it, we try to remember even more favorably. And quite frankly, it's one of those things where we probably need to we probably need to you know I'm glad the invention of video recording because we're just apes that are conditioned to believe the best outcome. But let's continue.
Pretend that the issue isn't there, or it doesn't matter, or we all have it under control, none of which are true. The overwhelming majority of people have to go to work 5 days a week who live from the income that their work provides. And a very small minority have enough wealth to live off the wealth. The richest 10 or 20% of our country, which owns half the wealth, that's why they're the richest. They get rent on their land, they get interest on their money, they get all of these rewards, whether or not they do an ounce of labor ever. Whereas the vast mass of people can only live by their labor. This is a fundamental inequality that infuses everything about our culture.
Okay, so and this is like I was just saying, one of the biggest things that, and it's just we're artificially told that we need to compete. We and us science nerds actually know this as well. We're told about Darwinism and how life is a competition and things of that nature. This, in and of itself, is true. Evolution is fucking real. And if you don't believe that evolution is real, I don't know what to tell you. I can have that conversation with you, even as a layman, to show you reasons and things about how evolution is real. But that's not the conversation we're having right now. We're having a conversation about that we have a false sense of needing for competition. Where, and I've actually said this, I really think that a lot, and this is going off on a tangent, I know, but I truly believe there are actually very few relative races. As far as a lot of people are fearful of them losing their place in society, and they're told that these people want to take your place, and so they are sympathetic to the shitheads that are real racists, and that's why you get so many people that were so easy to lean to the alt right. Not making an excuse for them, but fear is a fear is a hell of a drug. But let's continue.
The lip service as a nation we give to equality, to democracy, to equal opportunity are radically undone by the reality of the class structure. So class is going to force you into unpleasant recognitions and confrontations with a reality that has to be changed. Foreclosure in the United States today is in fact the perfect example.
Here, I thought I was talking. So this is one of the points that is going to be fun to watch, and let's see what he talks about. But let's go.
Over the last 30 years, we have faced a phenomenon we never had before in the history of the United States. We have had rising real wages in America, roughly from the beginning of our history up until the 1970s. If you worked hard, you got more money in your wage envelope at the end of the week. It was true for 150 years, and that's really amazing, and no other country did that.
And I wonder why there was such a change. I can tell you why it was such a change. It was such a change because you get all of these assholes that fucking. One of the biggest problems, and this is goes without saying, when they start allowing campaign donations inside of politics, that's why you saw a lot of problems. And what you actually see with this is it started in the 1970s. The markets that we had were so protected, so closed off. Bankers couldn't make as much money as they wanted to. And that led to them trying to find other markets, other places. And again, you can find this in a lot of different places, in a lot of different books where, they petitions to have so many countries, so many laws repealed where you get you get allowed to make campaign donations. And let me see if I can actually adjust this so I won't have the echoing, but I will have more sound. Sorry, guys. Let me test it out. Sorry about this. Get campaign get
It stopped in the 1970s because of computers replacing people, because of American companies moving abroad where they could pay lower wages, because of a mass movement of women into the labor force, immigration, and we went from a country with a chronic labor shortage to a country with a chronic labor oversupply.
Let me test it out. Sorry about this. I'm sorry, guys. Just want to test this.
It stopped in the 1970s.
There we go. There we go. So that worked. Yeah. All right. All right. Great. So that works. That's a thing. Yay. So this highlights what happened, and just markets were actually just looking to try to expand because when we had such a closed off and relatively small market base that we had in the 1970s, what happened was a lot of people, there was, we tried to get unemployment down to as low as we can. Now, that doesn't mean to say that a low unemployment number is bad, but when you have so many people that effectively can bargain for just another wage at another location, yes, that drives wages up. And what happened was we had so much with this opening of different markets, with computers actually being a thing, with you see so many you see the revolution of the computers actually doing as much as they're doing at the time, but they just become so more efficient. If you actually take a look at that graph where you see productivity going up and wages staying the same, this is around that time as well. Because what ended up happening is a, it was just employers can do more with less workers, and then we had so much competition, a competition which we competed ourselves into stagnant wages. But let's continue.
Employers no longer had to raise wages to keep workers working, to keep them happy, to keep them employed. And as a result, the American working people went into a kind of prolonged psychic shock. Their wages weren't rising anymore. And so what they did was they turned to another source of money to realize the American dream that they.
All right, so yes, when your wages aren't going up, and we saw this with the financial crisis too. When your wages aren't going up, what do? You borrow. And you just get a lot of people actually just borrowing. And what happens? Oh God, I'm gonna fit. I swear to God, I'm gonna go back and do that Mark Blythe video again, where you actually see it was when you don't have your assets coming in, where you can actually get a way of buying into the middle class, you borrow into the middle class. And what's happening is we have effectively become a creditor's paradise where people are living off of credit. And I think Mark Blythe coined this phrase where he talks about the Citibank campaign where it says live richly. And what's happened is, like, you actually just see it. People are living beyond means to a point where their basic needs are now living beyond means because we haven't seen a real increase in wages. But let's continue.
They had been culturally developed to hope for, to expect, to promise to their kids. They borrowed money like crazy. And the business community of the United States saw in the borrowing of the American working class a fantastic market to go after. You know, in the 1970s.
All right, so that's the thing about capitalism. You always have to find something new because you exhaust your fuck. I was looking for a better way of saying Mark quickly. And that's what's happened. Businesses actually saw, well, we've exhausted this market. Let's go after something else. And you're going to actually hear this explanation soon.
At the beginning, the only people who had a credit card were wealthy people or folks on business expense accounts. Starting in the 1970s, we gave credit to the mass of Americans. Everybody gets a credit card, and everybody can go to the bank to borrow to buy a home. Mortgage debt, credit card debt explodes. It was a money-making extravaganza.
Die, you
We
motherfucker!
saw all the wealthy come.
All right, sorry about that. I had to beat this thrall into submission. But you just heard it there. A lot of people just borrowed like it was no tomorrow. They borrowed so much because they were conditioned to believe in the American dream. And I'm here to tell you, the American dream is bullshit. It is. It always has been. What was the first instance of American dream? That people were going to come to America and find gold on the shores. Yeah. How did that work out? Literally, they had to make a rule: if you don't work, you don't eat for a lot of the colonies. And some may say that that was the bullshit that we have right now because of that bullshit. But I digress. Um, it's really alarming that we are of what happened. The reason why we're in this place because effectively people started living beyond their means. And yes, you can blame people all you want for, well, they should have known better. They shouldn't have tried to live beyond their means. And once people say that, I clear like the financial crisis in 2013. All those poor people are trying to get homes that they can't afford. They fell victim to the same predatory lending that a lot of people have. The problem is the first thing they fell victim to was the American dream. The first thing that they fell victim to was the belief that hey, you're not a real person unless you have a home, and you haven't made it unless you bought a home the way that we're telling you to buy a home, and the specific the specific white picket fences and things of that nature. That's what they were told. That's the bill of goods that they were sold. And I am not somebody to say, whoa, even though you bought into it, it's your fault. Yes, we all have personal responsibilities. But if everyone is telling you that you aren't making it unless you have, you know, the home with the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids, and you're actively physically discouraged from actually deviating from it in the slightest bit, it's like the people that get mad at people that still go to church because they don't want to be ostracized. Ostracization is a hell of a drug, and you don't want to take that shit. But let's continue.
Together to get involved in this money, building houses, lending workers at huge interest rates the money with which to buy the new and expensively built homes. Wealthy people poured their money in to companies that built these homes, furnished these homes, decorated these homes, and you had a literal explosion of profitability. But of course, you can't keep lending to working people if their underlying economic situation isn't improving. So it was only a matter of time until the extra borrowing reached the limit of the underlying frozen stagnant wages.
And that's what 2008 was. That's legitly what 2008 was. You couldn't borrow anymore. But guess what company? Oh, excuse me, almost gave away the lead. Guess who actually who actually hit their underlying borrowing versus what they brought in? It wasn't fucking the people. It wasn't. That's something that they like to tell you. No, it was the companies. They were borrowing against each other so fucking much that they were called. Lehman Brothers called. And that's what happened. It wasn't the fault of somebody who was too poor not to be able to afford their home when they were given shitty ass mortgages. No, it's the predatory companies that says, "Hey, don't you want to have a new home? And you want to seem like a responsible adult." And yes, if you're gonna fucking dangle a carrot in front of me, I'm just a contrarian. I don't want my own home because, eh, fuck it. Homes are too much fucking work for me. But I understand why people want it. Hell, like I have a kid, but if it came down to it where I didn't like, if it wasn't in a decision where it would have been for family planning, I don't know if I wouldn't have gotten married as young as I did. Maybe I wouldn't have a kid. But the ostracization for not living up to what the world around you says. Do you know there was a study where, and I'm just letting the gameplay stuff right now. There was a study where there were these monkeys. They put them in a box, and I forgot what the study was. And one monkey they had dangle food on top of a ladder, and every time a monkey would actually go up and get that food, it is somebody would take a hose and spray to all of the monkeys, to whereas nobody would actually go get the food. They took one of those monkeys out and put another monkey in. Now, mind you, they didn't actually have they didn't have to repeat it. They just had the monkeys that were in there before. One monkey went up, and then the rest of the monkeys pulled them down because they were taught that they didn't want to get sprayed. And they one by one they started replacing the fucking monkeys to the point where none of the original monkeys remained. But as soon as a new one came up and climbed up, They pulled them down. You're facing that headwind every time you try to buck the system. You have people around you that says, no, you must fucking conform because we don't want to catch the backlash. But let's continue.
That was hit in 2007. Millions of Americans could no longer afford the houses that they had borrowed to buy. And the foreclosure crisis represents the rage and anger of the wealthy class. If the underlying people they lent money to can't pay for them, they're going to take those houses back, throw those people out of their homes, and try to find another way to make money. Here's a perfect example of the profit motive creating a housing boom that becomes a bust, and that now to recoup the money of the minority who invested in it requires millions of people, the majority, to literally lose their homes, producing in the United States in 2010 and 2011 a society that has millions of empty homes side by side with millions of homeless people.
You know what? That's actually something I never fucking understood. You actually have this society where, like, literally, and the housing bubble is just building itself back up. Housing prices have actually started to skyrocket. And guys, I'm playing a game, and please forgive me if I'm not flashing this shit up right away. But you actually have so many, like, housing prices are actually starting to rise again. In some places, they never fail. And it's just a cycle of boom and bust, boom and bust. We're gonna get this bullshit until, we say fuck capitalism, but let's fucking continue.
Enormous pressure was placed on the United States government by big businesses, the businesses that produce homes, that clear land, that produce construction equipment, the businesses that produce the furniture that goes into the home. All of those companies have put enormous pressure on the government for the last 100 years to subsidize, to stimulate everything having to do with the home construction business. They asked the government to subsidize mortgages, which we've been doing in America since the 1930s. They wanted the government to help individuals buy homes because their well-being as corporations depended on selling those homes, selling the furniture, selling the equipment that dug the ground for the homes, etc.
So one of the things that kind of like, wow, like, it's just so alarming. It's just so fucking alarming. Is that how much we have as a society? We have invested in to fucking make money. It's alarming to me. And I swear to God, I'm not a communist. I actually do believe in socialism. And I know that may sound like I'm splitting hairs, but trust me, there's a difference. I don't believe that there should be no personal property. I truly don't. But I definitely believe that there are things that the government should oversee regulations for, as well as, should be private companies. Fuck, I'm an artist. I fucking do art. And I don't want anybody controlling what art I have, what art I try to do. But I think that there are some protections that are needed for all parties. But I'm sure I'm gonna be labeled as a radical commie. No, I'm socialist. There are certain shit that is socially worth our society. Fuck it. Some things that we should all share the cost in. But let's continue.
Whole corporate structure of the United States has been geared to making money by developing the private home business in the United States. They are the ones who have made the major difference in all of this. Every house, virtually, bought and sold in the United States over the last 25 years, with very few exceptions, was paid for with a mortgage loan. That is, the buyer of the home goes to typically a bank and borrows the money with which to buy the house, and then has to make a long-term repayment to the bank for having borrowed that money. As a loan, it has two sides.
All right. And I think I like the way that Mark Blythe actually talks about this. He says, um, your liability is my house, and my asset is your liability, vice versa. And this is a great partnership, a relationship, but now it's just in turn predatory. But let's continue. It's kind of sad that most people have to have a home loan in order to buy a house, and a loan to go to school, and a loan to get a car if you want a car that would supposedly last you longer, or be able to get. Fuck. We're living in a corporate feudalism time, but let's continue.
Borrower and the lender. In our kind of capitalist economy, it is the rule that a banker has the social responsibility of properly assessing risk. If billions upon billions of dollars were lent to people who couldn't pay it back, then the culpability is at least as much on the side of the bankers who made those loans as it is on the borrowers who took them out. Borrowing vast amounts of money to buy homes took off in the 1970s and 80s and 90s.
You know what? And this actually brings up a point. It was a few years ago, and the people that got caught with the Bank of America scandal, or no, Wells Fargo scandal, where a lot of people actually, quote unquote, bought homes. They It was an issue where Wells Fargo was opening up bank accounts in customers' name, charging them ridiculous fees, and they get the money for the fees. And you know what? You know who got fired? The people on the bottom that got fired. But there is no way, no way, not even the person who manages to check the compliances was fired. But the people who, you know, were the just the bottom rung of the ladder got fired. I don't know. But bankers never face responsibility. Let's continue.
Had not happened before. So if you're going to blame the victim, you have to explain why the victim undertook these blameworthy activities then, and not, for example, in the previous 150 years. And now the most important point, which I made earlier. Starting in the 1970s, the American working class stopped getting real wage increases. So we have a desperate working class that undertook that borrowing because they had to. Because even though they became more and more productive for their employers did not raise their wages for the last 30 years. That's why they borrowed money, and that's why they borrowed too much money. And had the employers not taken advantage of the market to stop raising wages, had they simply continued to raise wages as American employers had been doing for the 150 years before the.
So, yeah. So, every time somebody tells you that well, if you don't like your job, it's not paying you enough, go to a new job. Where? And this is one of the things that kind of seriously, it's that shut up and take it attitude. And the only time that we should be ever saying shut up and take it if that's somebody's kink. Other than that, those are words that should never usher out of your mouth. But let's continue.
1970s, there would not have been this explosion of borrowing, and there would not be the foreclosure prices now. So the blame for all of this is really not to be found with the individual borrower, or for that matter, even with the individual banker. We have a system that worked in such a way as to drive the masses of people to borrow what they shouldn't and to drive the corporate sector to invest and lend in ways they shouldn't. The fault is in a system that makes people behave in ways they all come to regret. Capitalism here worked better than it did in other countries for a long time, and it accumulated a lot of wealth. Over the last 30 years, it hasn't raised the wages the way it had for 150 years before.
All right, so let's just talk about this. And yes, is capitalism better than serfdom or feudalism? Fucking yes. Absolutely yes. Is it better than the practice, quote unquote, socialism that we had with the different Soviet countries? That's debatable. And of course, I'm actually gonna do another video. I don't know if I'm gonna do it tonight. I've kept you guys for an hour already, but when you look, and I think I did do it when I did Richard Wolff before. We never saw up until the systems that are effectively working well with the Swedes and the Nordic countries, a system of capital of socialism where it was anything other than the state is a capitalist. In China, China is not a capitalist, is not a socialist country. They're capitalists through and through. What they are is a planned economy with the government, but the government is still the same fucking thing that you will get with these capitalist boss. That's why there are so many fucking Chinese millionaires. I'm sorry. That's not socialism. What it is just somebody else looking to be the boss of another person. And we really need to look at this. We need to really look at our systems that we're doing to our people. And if you think that fuck you, pay me, you gotta remember when you're using your foot to stomp down somebody beneath you, how long till it's another foot that's coming to stomp you down? But let's finish out this video. And then I'm gonna rest for the night. Been at work since fucking 8 o'clock and got off at 6. Well, let's continue.
The confrontation with the inability of capitalism to deliver the goods was postponed by having Americans work way more hours than other people in other countries, and by having American workers take on a level of debt no working class ever anywhere had ever seen before. But we've now run out. We can't do more physical hours of work, and we can't borrow any more money because we're not able to pay what we've already borrowed. And we're now going to have to face it. And I think what we're going to see is an American working class that is now going to rediscover class and realize that they have to question a system that works this way. They're going to demand fundamental changes, and when they do, and as they do, they will rediscover the language of class, relearn it from the working people in other countries who never forgot it, and it'll re-enter the discourse and debates of American society, and probably with a vengeance.
All right, guys. So I want to thank everybody who's watched. And I know it's a little bit shorter than what I normally do. Uh, I'm doing this. Yeah, I'm doing it short this month today. I'm gonna actually be doing a lot of streaming this weekend. Just a lot of shit that I need to get off my chest. Um, fuck, I am. Hopefully, you guys can actually enjoy more of my streaming. I'm gonna probably be streaming about 1 p.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow. I want to thank everybody who's watched, and please, guys, remember that when you stand together, if we don't Stand together, we'll hang separately. But peace. Enjoy.
The gateway to our kingdom. As they pass into the